Yo, welcome to episode number 2 of the Larry Ohh Show, where we talk about everything FL studio and music producer related. Episode 2.
We here.
We here.
We here.
We here. Just want to say thank you to everybody watching and commenting and listening. We got a lot of downloads already, a lot of comments, a lot of people watching. Great response. Just shows us that we gotta keep it going. I already knew this was gonna be good. It was gonna be fun, but now the response has just been so well received. Like the podcast is just so well received.
The community's popping.
Yeah.
The community's popping off. They're gathering around. So shouts out everybody in the comments dropping like their favorite VSTs, all that. Like there was a few hitters in there too, like stuff I was not expecting to see.
Yep.
Like people dropping VSTs that I was like, okay, salute you.
But you're saying Sytrus.
Sytrus was the big one. Where I was just like, I gotta get back in there. I've not used Sytrus since I probably first got FL.
Sytrus is a sleeper, bro. I know, like when I first started messing with FL, it was already there. It didn't look as good as it looks now. We were just talking about that off the camera, but like it looks good now. But it is a sleeper. It's like not one that you would normally go to. It has dope presets. But I mentioned this on the Help Me Devon podcast because they asked me to like Sytrus or something else. I can't remember, but I was like, yo, I didn't choose Sytrus only because it's got good presets, but at the same time, it's more meant, in my eyes, it's like to get the best out of it. If you're a really good sound designer, you can create some fire on there.
Because isn't it, there's numerous layers and oscillating like levels that you can add different stuff onto it. So I think that that's probably why it's like such a great VST, is because it's got that capability.
You can manipulate the presets.
Yeah, and it's all in one hub. Whereas like if you want to do that with any other thing, you kind of, I would think to like layer it up in the step sequencer. Like that's how I would kind of do it. But with Sytrus, it's all up in the mix like that. Like just one window for that.
Yeah, Sytrus is fire.
That.
We're already going in. But I wanted to mention a couple of things before we like really started going in. This is just, it just goes to show you how much we can talk about FL stuff. It's crazy. But I just wanted to give a huge shout out to the guys over at Help Me Devon. They just shouted the podcast out recently. I wanted to just say thank you for that and the motivation and inspiration to do this podcast, because I went over there, November, did a podcast. I was like, yo, I gotta do this podcast now. I've been thinking about it for a while. I just gotta pull the trigger, gotta do it. So we're here. I also wanted to mention that every single week from now until forever, we're giving away a copy of FL Studio Producer Edition. And the way to get it and the way to win it is down in the comments. But not only down in the comments, every episode we're going to be doing a keyword. So somewhere in the video, somewhere in the podcast, is going to be a special keyword. I'm just going to randomly say a keyword that I think of off the top of my head. And then whoever comments the word in the comments section down below, one person is going to win a copy of FL Studio Producer Edition every single week. So every Tuesday, tune in, get the keyword, comment it, and win a copy of FL Producer Edition.
That's crazy.
So shout out to Image Line for supplying that. Always dope people over there. Shout out to my guy Josh.
Major.
Holding it down.
Major.
Just want to get that out of the way. First things first. I know we were talking about Sytrus, but we could talk about some other stuff too. So, I mean, there's a lot of...
Just the reception
stuff,
of this
bro.
podcast has been crazy. Like, I feel like the comments from the second the clips went up, like, were just popping. And a few people were even like, yo, I love this style of like the content. Like one guy was like, I like this as opposed to the tutorial videos.
I know, I seen that dude.
And I was like, hey, yo, that's a very interesting way to kind of see how, like, you know, talking about how things are constantly like shifting and how, you know, adapting to what, you know, people want. That's a very, like, I feel like kind of overlooked like means of getting certain education across just through like regular conversation and like edited conversation like this one.
People get bored with the same style of content, even if it is good and informative.
Yeah.
I get bored. You get bored. Everybody right now with social media, the attention is crazy tough and you have to switch it up.
And you never know like where that change is going to come from too. Before you know it, you're interacting with a whole new style of content that you weren't even like cognizant of it even developing.
Yep.
It just happens just organically. And, you know, we make a conversation about FL, and then before you know it, we talk for an hour, and then there's 1,000 videos that we can chop up.
I mean, it's ridiculous, and I'm seeing, like you said, how much I'm able to chop up, because right now I'm doing all the chops pretty much myself. Merc did the main edit of the entire podcast.
Shouts out Merc.
Shout out Merc, Boiler Room. But like I'm taking all the edits and I'm like, oh, there's just like so much I can chop up right now because we're just having a normal flowing conversation. And like you said, it's a way that people can just digest the content in a different way.
Yeah.
Where maybe it's like the main reason I wanted to do this is because I feel like we always have good conversations. Whenever I get to talking about you or anybody about FL Studio, I could just talk for days on it and music producer stuff. So it's just a natural thing that I think comes to us. And I think that style of content is just so, it's so needed in the community right now.
Right.
It makes it so it's not like, it's not a scripted thing. Not that all my videos are scripted, but when I do an FL tutorial, most of the time it's like, all right, I'll do a voiceover and I'll stop and I'll say this. I'll be like, oh, I can say that better. Let me go back, redo it. With this, it's just kind of spitballing things and different things will come to mind than they would have if you're sitting there kind of like doing an edit tutorial style, you know? And not to say that I'm not going to do any of that anymore. It's just going to be a mix. This is just an added thing into the content.
I think this could potentially be like the most influential podcast to come out.
He's saying it.
I think it could do it. I mean, we're only 2 episodes in, you know, but I just think that like just off a hunch, I think that it's if you tuning in, you're tuning into something really special right now.
I love it, man. I just feel this something that I felt at the beginning of me doing the FL content too. I feel the same way. I feel like it's being so well received right now. People are liking it. We're getting DMs, we're getting the comments, and it's just one of those things where you know you're going in the right direction with things. You have an idea, you want to do something, you make it happen, and it's received well. And again, thank you to everybody for consuming it and comment and letting us know because we're going to keep it running.
You know, and keep weighing in on the comments because we're just going to be paying attention. Like at this point, like I'm seeing everything that's coming through and like certain stuff, I'm just like, oh, yep, good point. Like one guy even asked, he was just like, wait, so you use FL Studio for like mixing and mastering songs with vocals on them too? I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah, people don't know.
It's everything.
Some people some people don't think of FL in that way.
Yeah, they think it's beats. You know, they think it's beats. And that's perfect, you know what I'm saying? Because now we have the opportunity to be like, absolutely, you can mix your vocals in FL Studio.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Absolutely. Get up in there, use the parametric, use the compression, you know. Use them stock plugins that we love so hard.
Speaking of stock plugins, I have a segment that I jotted down, and I think it might be a good time to bring it up. And I want to know, well, we'll go back and forth. And top 5 favorite or most used stock FL VST instrument plugins. So instruments only, top 5 go-tos for you.
Okay. You want to go back and forth like
you say your
1
5
for 1?
So you say your 5 and I'll do my 5.
All right.
I cheated. I wrote my 5 down already. So you're on the spot. If you want me to go first, I'll go first.
I'm going to go into the sidebar and click on that legacy drop down and go for real instruments. I'm going to go for that.
The sound fonts?
Yeah, the sound fonts.
Bro, I thought of sound fonts the other day. Somebody commented it and I'm like, bro, sound fonts, I forgot about
the Rhodes sound font. The stage keys.
Bro, that's right. You use that a lot in our sessions. I forget about that.
The stage keys.
It sounds good. Dude.
Incredible.
So
incredible.
Good.
It's my favorite shit because like I don't know what it is. There's like a softness to it. There's like a subtle natural reverb. You can still add your own reverb on top of it, but the stage key, so good. So that's my little sidebar there. I use the 3X oscillator a lot just for different stuff.
A little bit of sound design going on.
A little bit of sound design. Yep. Love doing that. What I love about that is like the plucks. I like, you know, making your own sub basses.
That's what I used it for.
That was the early development where I was like, wait, you can make sub bass on this?
Yep. Easy sub bass. Sine wave, maybe distortion if you want it. Go a lower octave and you're good.
And what's cool about the 3X is you can actually make your own 808s using it too, where you can, you know, adjust the tail, adjust the attack, put like a little, maybe you have your own like little kicks that you maybe layer up underneath that, print that, send that to the sampler. Bro. Sauce alert.
So you got to do that in the sampler though, right? So you're saying, yeah, I've done that with other things, but with 3X oscillator, you create like your sound. Maybe you use a square wave, a triangle wave, a saw, whatever. and then you go to the envelope.
Funky.
Yep, you go to the envelope, and then you're gonna change the volume envelope, right? So you change the tail of it,
Yep.
And then how do you record it?
I'll sometimes hit it with the Edison.
Right, I was gonna say.
I'll send it into Edison and then just right into the sampler.
Bring it into the sampler, and then you could sound design it even more. You could flip it even more while it's its own audio sample.
Just keep on resampling, yeah.
Yep. So that's 2.
That's 2. Easy one would be like toxic biohazard. You know, I mentioned that last time. Just good all across the board. Like if you want to get a little futuristic with it.
I might have to mess with toxic biohazard again, bro. I gave up on that. Like literally, I gave up on it a long time ago.
Really?
15 years ago, probably.
What made you want to give up?
I don't know. I think maybe because it was in a trial mode when I had it.
Oh,
and I was just like, I did go to it a decent amount back then just stopped and I gave up on it. Have they updated it? Is it like different than it used to be when you first started using toxic?
It's definitely different. Like I noticed that the skin is definitely different. I don't know about the sounds being different. But a little secret sauce. No, I mentioned this on the last episode was that workaround for if you're in that trial mode, print it. Send it to the mixer. Alt R if you're on Mac or Option R, whatever it is.
Yep.
And you
in the mixer.
Yeah.
So in the mixer, arm it to record.
Yep.
And hit Alt R or Option R.
Yep. And then it'll print it as that thing. Sometimes if you don't time it right, it'll cut off while it's printing. So just do it again.
Yep.
And then you have a print of the sound.
Yeah, I was gonna say because with the trial mode, it just mutes it every so often.
Every minute or so.
So it's a little cheat sheet.
Yeah, little cheat sheet.
Little cheat.
Just in case you need it.
Yeah.
So I'd say that toxic biohazard's a good one. What's the one that's what was the fucking I'm gonna have to look at the phone real quick. It's not Sawyer. It's
SAR?
No, it's not SAR. It's the it's got like a punny name. Like it's like a pun. Hold on.
Ogun?
What is
I don't know.
Hold on, real quick. FL
right.
Studio.
While you're doing that so far, I'm gonna go down your list. You got sound font first, the grand piano.
I like the stage piano.
Then you got the 3X oscillator.
Poison's a sleeper.
Oh my
Poison's
God,
a sleeper.
bro.
You got ARPs in there.
Bro, it is a sleeper. Wow.
Yes, dude. My boy Brian put me onto that.
You started using that in the studio with us, and I'm like, yo, I never touched that thing ever in my life.
Brother. Poison.
You just dig up the plugins,
the
that
weirdest
uses.
ones, and use them. Yeah, and use them. What I like about it is that you can go up in there. It's very intuitive. You can just press on a button, press off a button, start messing with gates, start messing with like step sequencer, arpeggiators and stuff. And like the sounds are interesting. And then when you start tweaking them, it just becomes otherworldly. You know, like that. So I'd say Poison is one of those that if you're not using it, especially if you make any sort of like dance stuff or anything that you just want to have that inspiration in there, Poison's the way to get that.
So that's 4.
That's 4.
One more.
4. Harmer.
What do you like using Harmer for? Because I might have a different use for it than you do.
Harmer. What I like about Harmer and Harmless, but Harmer specifically is like you can adjust the attack, the cutoff, the tail on stuff, and it's all like those knobs. So it's like whereas Sytrus you can do that as well, but it's more of like the carve. You know what I'm saying? Like with Harmer and then Harmless, it's just like a knob, and I think that's really cool because then you're just listening to it and seeing how it reacts, and then dropping in a fucking voice.
I was gonna say that. That's how I use it.
Yeah,
I use it. Excuse me.
Is that safe to say it's in your top 5?
No, it's not in my top 5. Is it in my top 5? No, it's not in my top 5. But I love it for this reason. I've done a ton of videos on this. I love it as a sampler.
Yeah,
I will bring in any kind of sample, like a vocal. That's the main reason. That's one of the biggest things. Vocal chops, but not even like vocal chops. Sometimes I'll turn it into like a synth, like a pad sound that you do chords with. Yeah. So like I'll take a vocal and if it's a long enough phrase, or even if it's not that long of a phrase, you can stretch it inside a Harmer as well.
Mm-hmm.
So in that like little window, you can make it slower or faster. So if you have a vocal take, and you could choose anything out of a vocal take. So say it's like, you know, a little split second, like a half a second clip, you can stretch it to be longer, and then you can essentially put effects on it inside there because it has its own effects window, its own envelope window. It's a sound design plugin as well. Then you can play chords with it. I would like take a vocal and just play chords with it, and it just creates a chord progression or a sample that nobody's ever heard before. Like nobody would ever know in a million years it was a vocal to begin with, or anything for that matter. You could take a one shot from somewhere and do the same thing with a one shot, a synth one shot, and it just adds a texture onto that you really can't get anywhere else besides a plugin like that.
Yeah, you make it your own. Like it doesn't exist before you made it that way.
Exactly.
That, like that VSTs like that, where it just allows you to be fully creative like that.
Bro.
Top.
So you got a good top 5.
That's my 5.
You got a good 5. All right. My top 5, like I said, I cheated. I wrote them down a little bit earlier. My first one, number 1, I'll go from like my best, maybe, or maybe, I don't even know, but I know my favorite, my best, my top 1 is Patcher as like a VST plugin, right? Because I'm sure if you know, do you use Patcher at all?
I mess around in Patcher, yeah.
So you can essentially create anything you want with Patcher. It's an endless possibility plugin. So I can stack plugins on top of plugins within that plugin and throw effects plugins in there as well. So I can say if I want to create, I don't know, like a synth that I've just never heard before and want to create a wacky synth, I can pull in, say, Sakura inside of there. I can pull in FL keys and I can stack those on top. So when you play it, it plays both of the instruments at once. And that's endless. So you could put 5 different plugins, even third-party plugins in there. So you're essentially creating the same, the synth out of anything, right? Then you can stack instrument effects plugins on top of that to warp it and pitch it however you want. But not only that, it has ridiculous presets. There's this one preset in there that's called Yoda Saw. Have you ever messed with that one?
No.
It's called Yoda Saw. It's a preset. And I stumbled on this one time. I don't know if it was in a video or just me like messing around with it, but you can create chords just with one key. So like you just choose the scale that you want to use. And you can, it's one preset though, but again, you can go into the back end of it because by default, it's like an organ sound or some weird shit, right? But you can go into the back end and change the plugin that's making that sound,
right?
Which is crazy. And it has a nice little interface on it, colors, scheme, all that. Knob on the front to like choose the scale that you want. One key chords.
So that's that Patcher.
So that's, yes.
Patcher sauce.
And there's a bunch of other like really good presets in there, but that's like one of my top favorites, just because of that alone.
Do you make like a lot of beats with Patcher right now?
A decent amount. A decent amount. It's not in every single beat. What is in every single beat though is my number 2 is Flex.
Yeah.
Flex is in every single beat.
They were going hard for Flex in the comments.
Bro, it's underrated, but at the same time, not. I mean, I think, you know, the word's getting around that Flex is so dope, but there were a lot of people in the comments saying, damn, I'm sleeping on Flex. I'm sleeping on Flex. There's a lot of people sleeping on it.
Get on that Flex.
Yeah, bro. Flex is top notch, and they're always updating the packs. The presets are awesome. The macros in there is dope too. Like the effects that they have in there, there's filters, all different type of shit in there. It's awesome.
And you said it's integrated with different like you can download packs for it essentially.
Yeah, so you can go through, and what I think is gonna happen, and I don't know if it already is, but FL came out and said basically that they tested the FL Cloud with that system because they already had a system in place with Flex. Yeah. And nobody ever even really thought about it. I never thought about it, that they were doing something like that. But what they did was, because the way the FL Cloud is set up is you can go online. It's all online based. And you know, you pull samples from online and packs from online. With Flex, it's been like that since like Flex dropped. And you can basically buy packs through Flex.
Right.
So within Flex, it'll pop up another window, like if you have to log in or whatever. But you can buy the packs, basically expansion packs for Flex through Flex. So you don't really have to go anywhere. So I guess they sampled that idea and like kind of ran a trial without people really knowing. So that technology has already like been integrated with FL and Flex for a while now.
Just a quick sidebar. I feel like people have all these like grievances about the subscription based stuff. But I think that you're only able to get stuff like that where like you're able to fly different packs into, you know, Flex. You're only able to get stuff like that through like this subscription technology now. Because people that have their stuff like, you know, bootleg or whatever, like that was never a thing. You just had what you had. And you didn't have like the constant updates and things like that.
That was that's one of my biggest points to the cloud is how smart they are for doing that.
Yeah.
It's going to pull people in that never paid for FL to start paying.
Oh,
Not only pay for the cloud, but pay for the full version first, because you're not going to be able to get the cloud without the full version. So now you're going to pull people in to get the full version and the cloud. And they're going to double win.
Yeah.
So smart and so valuable to the producers. It's just like a no-brainer. Like I said, for people that can afford it, it's going to be a no-brainer. It's gonna be night and day. My number 3, I think I'm only on number 3. Yep, number 3 is you put me onto this though, to GMS.
Really?
I think you put me onto it back in our like studio days.
GMS. Are you sure?
You don't use it that much? You never used it that much?
No, I don't think I've ever used GMS.
Oh, so maybe not. Maybe it was another John.
maybe it was me. I don't know.
I don't know. But for what I remember is maybe it was. But I don't know. GMS is just like a slept-on stock plugin that has really dope presets. I don't have to like really mess with it too much. It's set up kind of like, you know, how all the FL stock plugins are set up where they have like different categories: bass, lead, pad, synth, that stuff. And it's not overwhelming with a lot of sounds in it, but the sounds that are there are dope.
Hitters.
And really good. Really good leads. I go there a lot for bass and leads.
Yeah.
And then I can manipulate them from there. That's what I go there for a lot. If I need something like on top, something that's thin, high pitch, high frequency, I'm going to try out GMS.
You got to get that hook.
Yep.
That hook melody, you're going to find it in GMS.
Got to go for GMS. Number 4 for me is Sakura. Heavily slept on. It does have its own sound though.
Yes.
So you can't really use it for everything. It definitely doesn't make it into every beat because everything in there pretty much has its own sound to it.
Sakura is a vibe for like, I mean, I like it for like R&B stuff. I like it for lo-fi stuff. I like it for, oh bro, I fucking love Sakura.
It's really good. It has like this tinge to it. I don't know what it is. It has like this like weird polish on everything that almost sounds like metallic. I don't know. I can't explain it.
It sounds like hardware to me.
Yeah.
Like when I play something on Sakura, I feel like I'm playing like some sort of like keyboard, like a MIDI keyboard or controller. You know what I'm saying? What's like something that you pull for Sakura? Like what's a
I go to the pluck. I think there's a pluck section. I go to that pluck section a lot. Those plucks I think are the best in there, in my opinion. That's if I'm looking for that kind of sound, I'm opening up Sakura. I think, all right, so if you didn't put me onto GMS, you must have put me onto Morphine. Morphine is my 5.
I might have put you onto Morphine. I might have put you onto Sakura. Might have.
Maybe.
Might have. But Morphine also, I need a top 20.
For real.
I need a top 20.
They have so many. This just goes like we could keep going on and on about stock plugins and why you should use them, but
Morphine.
One final statement is like people don't even know what you have. They don't even know what they have with FL stock plugins.
Right.
They see the shiny new object online in an ad and this and that. There's a lot of really, really good plugins out there. A lot of companies that I've worked with in the past have really, really good plugins. Not 100% necessity. If you don't have the money, don't feel like you can't make fire beats with what you got.
Facts.
That's it.
Morphine's one of those that I felt like when I first found it, I was just like, oh, wait, did I crack this? Like, you know what I mean? It's like that fire that I was like, wait, this came stock with FL? It's just that good of a VST. The sounds on that thing.
That's how I feel about Sakura.
Yeah.
That seems like a plugin that I bought.
Right.
Just the way it looks when you open it, too.
Yeah.
Like, it looks completely different than anything that's in FL.
So dope.
Sounds completely different. That's how I feel about Sakura. Like, I feel like that's a plugin that I bought.
Whoever designed those.
I mean, technically we did, but you know, it feels like a third party.
Right.
You know?
It does.
There's a lot of time that goes into those plugins. So yeah, that's my top 5. That's your top 5. You do vocals in FL. How do you go about like stacking vocals? Because you do a lot of stacks sometimes too, especially with your hooks.
Yeah.
When you're stacking vocals and comping vocals in FL, that's why I wanted to ask you the last time. I think it like slipped my mind. We talked a little bit about comping, a little bit about vocals, but like, what's your process when you Now, especially with the updated version where you can kind of link and lock everything into place and lock everything, send something to a mixer, everything can be intertwined really well now. What's your process like when you're tracking a vocal and you know that you're going to put a couple of stacks on top?
Usually I'll take it, you know what I'm saying? Like I'll get it down and record it. And I'll send it through to just like compressor and just get like a nice crisp tone to it, level it out to where like I can hear it enough to do the next layer and the next layer. And I'll typically leave them centered until I'm gonna start like comping and mixing and, you know, matching everything up. So like when everything's down, that's when I'll go through and I'll start like sending stuff left, sending stuff down the center. And typically with like the vocals and stuff, you know, I think I said this the last episode where it's like, you know, the EQ and stuff is really like the last of the stuff that I put on the vocal, just because I like to get it to sit in the mix without doing too much like frequency reduction. Getting it to sit however I want just through leveling it out, gain staging, compression. Compression's one of those that when I learned about compression, it was like, oh, that's kind of like what I wanted my vocals to sound like already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
like
when you're doing your vocals, when you're recording, are you recording them through your vocal chain live, or are you recording them like dry?
I do them raw.
Do you?
I do them dry, yeah.
Do you feel like there's a level, like if there's a level issue when you do it that way? Like if it's too low in the headphones?
There can be. There can be. And like, you know, you can either adjust the input on the microphone depending on like how the room is set up. Sometimes if you don't mind bleed from the rest of the room, then that's really cool and it can get like a cool effect printed into the sound. But you know, a good trick for that is buy yourself some open back headphones, so that you can kind of still hear, you know, everything else going on and have the input relatively low. Don't hike it up too much. I might record into a compressor. Like I might do the first vocal with no compressor on it, send it through, see how it sounds with the compressor, then take into the compressor for the rest of it. But very few effects when I'm going in.
When I record, I'm like, when I was doing all the sessions, like, you know, this was probably, I don't know, 2017, 18-ish.
Yeah.
So I mean, even still, if I'm recording vocals, I'm doing it like I want it to sound like almost the finished version. So that way the artist could hear it at full volume. They're not saying,
"Oh hell,
fire alarm." Podcast's too hot.
Too many.
All right. So before we were interrupted by the fire alarm, this is the spot where we're going to do the keyword now for the FL Studio Producer Edition giveaway. The keyword is Stone Cold. Stone Cold. You can spell it wrong, you can spell it right, but the keyword is Stone Cold. Down in the comments, whoever picks it, I'm going to pick out of the people that get the keyword, and I'm going to pick one winner for the FL Studio Producer Edition.
What?
All right. I feel like because we were just talking about the
liquor store,
the Stone Cold statue over there. But yeah, so yeah, hop right back into the conversation we were having about the live vocal chain. So I made a video about this in the past. It's kind of complicated, but so you say that you don't print your audio with effects on it. You do it raw. You record in raw, and then you put your effects on afterwards in your vocal chain. The way I do it is I'll have my vocal chain, like my live vocal chain there. So I have, you know, compressors, limiters, or limiter, EQs, whatever I have on there. But the routing that I do is so I can have the artist in the headphones hear it as if it's almost like a fully mixed, a fully polished vocal at the end.
Yeah.
So that way the level's good, it's compressed, it's limited, it's crunchy, it's however it's close to what it's going to sound like as a finished product. But it doesn't print. It's not permanent though. How I do it is I'll go and I'll keep my vocal chain and I'll dock it to the left of the mixer. You know how you can dock things to the left and the right with the sends?
Yeah.
So I'll dock the vocal chain to the left just for visual purposes, right? Then in the mixer side, just a random mixer track, I'll use that as my record track. So I'll choose the input, say it's input 1 on this random vocal track. I'll name it, you know, say main vocal. But I'll take that vocal and then I will hit route to this track only on the vocal chain.
Mhm.
So it routes to this track only, but it's only recording. So I'll arm that standalone mixer track, arm that one.
Mhm.
Don't arm the vocal chain track, because then you'll record and print the vocals with the effects and you can't go back.
Mhm.
So that's the main point of it. It's like getting the artist to record with the vocal chain in real time to hear it as if it's going to be a fully finished product at the end, but not have them permanent to the point where you can go back and adjust the compression. You can adjust the EQ. You can adjust the reverb. You can adjust all that stuff.
Right.
So not only that is I'll route to this track only on the vocal chain. So from the blank one, input number one, route to this track only on the vocal chain, and then make sure that your vocal chain is routed to the master. It probably will be automatically by default, but if it's not, you're not getting any sound out of it, make sure it's routed to the master only. So a lot of times it's like, damn, I don't know what I did, because sometimes people will click and it can get a little complicated. People will click it and then it turns it off. Even if you just like left click it, sometimes it disconnects it from the master. It's like, damn, where's my sound at? That cable just got disconnected. So again, highlight the vocal chain, route to this track only on the master. So that's your chain right there. You have your input track that's armed to record, routed to this track only on the vocal chain, then the vocal chain to the master. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
We'll put a visual up for this too.
Is the vocal chain route to this track only to the master, or is it route to this track?
The input track?
The vocal chain track.
The vocal chain is just going to the master.
So route to that only.
That only.
Yeah.
Route to this track
then
only.
it'll double print.
Because it'll double. Yeah.
Yeah, got it.
And you'll get like weird phasing. You're like, what the hell was this phasing coming from? Because you could essentially send that to two places. And then you hear you're routing your vocal chain to another track that's also going to the master. But it becomes a mess. It can be complicated. So that's the specific chain. Input track, arm to record, route to the vocal chain to the master. And then you'll hear your vocals loud and clear, crispy with the effects on them, compression, limiting, all that. But the one that records into the playlist is raw. So you can essentially mute the track. And the cool thing about that is that when you record that into the playlist, it automatically assigns itself to the mixer track that you armed.
Right.
Because you did that.
Then do you take the vocal chain and just take that entire stack to that raw input track?
No, you just leave it because it's already routed.
Oh, because it's already in there.
So when you're mixing, you just leave it as is.
Yeah.
And then if I have another vocal take, I'm starting a new track, dubs. So essentially, I made a bunch of templates before where it's like, it's already set up like that. So I go in and I have a template in my mixer that's already set up like that, ready to go with the vocal chain, blank inputs, a bunch of blank inputs that says maybe main, dub, ad lib, hook 1, hook 2, left, right, center, all that stuff. Like kind of just so it's quick and easy, ready to go. And all I have to do is arm it and maybe change the input on those tracks as I'm going.
Valid. Hell yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that, I just became so quick at recording in the studio, and everybody would just hear a consistent level. And which is what a lot of times with an artist, they don't know that they want that sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, you do because you may or not want it. You might not even want that, but you know what you're talking about when you go in because you do this, right? You do FL, you do production, mixing, tracking. But an artist, when they come in, sometimes they're like, I just can't hear myself. I need it louder.
Yeah,
but what they really think is like, what they're really saying is, I need compression. I need an EQ. I need a limiter. I need my gain. Because you get into this thing where somebody's really loud or really low when they record, and that's their natural. That's what they're at. So you have to compensate either way without clipping the signal.
Yeah.
So you run this like fine line in between. So that's another thing that just helps. That's how I do that in FL.
It does make it I think it makes it more comfortable for the artist too. Like when you can just walk in, you sound crispy in the headphones, especially if you're just like able to hear your voice. You got a little bit of delay on there as well. It sets the vibe right. And I think that when you're recording vocals, it's so important that you get the vibe, the tone, and you capture that right away so that, you're not like messing around. Yeah, you're not stressing.
And you could do that too. Like you mentioned open back. And I think you mentioned open back. You didn't mention this, but I think you mean this as well as like, you don't want to have to stress your vocal. If you have headphones that aren't open back headphones and you're recording and the signal is low and it's raw and you can't hear yourself, now you're stressing your vocal cords. Now you're you're in a different tone than you would have normally been in when you that you maybe envisioned in your head beforehand.
The tone that you deliver when you're like recording like the take for the song is going to be different than when you're performing it. And like you it's not that you don't want to be performing the vocal, it's that it's a different type of performance. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like a tone, like you said, you're in a different tonal quality. You know what I'm saying?
And before that, you mentioned also having like a reverb or a delay. And what I forgot to mention, even in that chain, is so you can have a vocal, you can have a delay and a reverb send off, to the right if you have them already set up. And then you can also route that track to there, and it won't print that either. So, but you wouldn't do route to this track only on those reverb sends or delays. So say you have like dock to the right. The way I do it is I have, my vocal chain dock to the left. All of my tracks that I'm going to be tracking with or like mixing with later are going to be in the middle. And then dock to the right, I have my effect sends. And 99 times out of 100, it's just delay and a reverb send that are separate. So then if I have my chain, it's, that tracking track is routed to that as well, but not routed to this track only. Just the left click. All you have to do is click left click.
Oh shit. Yeah.
You just left click so you make sure that the input track is highlighted. So click on that so it's highlighted and selected. Then go over to the bottom of your send and just click the little arrow down at the bottom with a regular mouse click.
I'm imagining the graphics just going.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Yeah.
You click me.
Yeah, I can see it right there.
So yeah, that's how you can get a really effective vocal chain live without printing it.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I think we can wrap this one up. I think this is episode 2 in the books.
Number 2
in the books. Another one, bro.
Another one.
Crazy. We're already 2 in. We had really good first episode, really good second episode. So I think that's gonna do it. Catch us in the next one. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and if you missed it, go back. If you missed the keyword, we're doing an FL giveaway every single week. Every single Tuesday, an episode goes live on all the major podcast platforms, YouTube, all that good stuff. Again, like, comment, subscribe. Make sure to share this with a friend if you get me.